Welcome to Vedira, where ancient wisdom and modern science meet in the stillness between thoughts. Here we explore the unseen forces that shape our reality, the quantum field, the power of attention, and the inner architecture of belief. In today's journey we ask a question both scientific and spiritual. Can thought shape matter? The world around you is not as fixed as it appears. The chair you sit in, the phone in your hand, the light dancing on your skin, these are not solid certainties, but vibrant arrangements of energy, fields of probability temporarily shaped into form. At the heart of modern physics lies a truth that bends the limits of perception. The act of observation changes reality. In the subatomic world, particles behave differently when they are watched. This is the observer effect, the strange, empirically verified phenomenon where the mere act of measuring a quantum system alters its state. And while it belongs to the vocabulary of physicists, mystics have been whispering its secret for millennia. Your awareness is not passive. Your attention is not neutral. You are not a separate witness. You are a participant in creation. From the moment we wake, we are immersed in a world we believe to be external and objective. But quantum theory reminds us that consciousness and reality are not separate entities. The line between subject and object blurs. Thought becomes entangled with matter. And in this space of blurred boundaries lies a great possibility that your thoughts, beliefs, and intentions might shape the very reality you experience. This idea is not new. It echoes in the ancient Vedas, in Hermetic philosophy, in the teachings of the Buddha and the scriptures of Tao. But in the 20th and 21st centuries, it has re-emerged under a modern name, the law of attraction. At its core, the law of attraction says this: what you think, you become; what you feel, you attract. It is not simply wishful thinking or naive optimism. It is the assertion that your inner world, your thoughts, emotions, and vibrational frequency, has a tangible impact on your outer world. But how do we reconcile this with science? Is the law of attraction pseudoscience? Or is it an early, poetic description of truths now beginning to emerge through quantum physics, neuroscience, and systems theory? To explore this, we must first step back and understand the observer effect more deeply, not as a metaphor but as a real phenomenon confirmed in laboratories. In the famous double-slit experiment, scientists fire photons, tiny particles of light, at a screen with two slits. If no one observes the setup, the photons behave like waves, creating an interference pattern that suggests they go through both slits at once. But the moment a measuring device is added to determine which slit the photon passes through, the wave function collapses. The photon now behaves like a particle, going through only one slit. The mere act of measurement changes the outcome. This experiment has been repeated in many forms, with electrons, atoms, even large molecules, and the result is always the same. The act of observation alters reality. But what does observation mean here? In physics, it typically refers to any interaction with a measurement device, but behind the device always is a human mind interpreting results. This has led some physicists like John Wheeler and Eugene Wigner to speculate that consciousness itself plays a role in shaping reality. Wheeler proposed the participatory universe, the idea that the universe is not a static stage, but a dynamic process in which observers bring reality into being. He said, "No phenomenon is a real phenomenon until it is an observed phenomenon." At this point, the line between quantum physics and metaphysics grows thin. If consciousness is not separate from matter but instead entangled with it, then thoughts may indeed have power, not because they magically alter reality, but because reality is never fully separate from consciousness in the first place. This is where the law of attraction finds its bridge to science. It does not contradict physics. It arises naturally from its most profound insights. If the universe is a field of probabilities, and consciousness plays a role in collapsing those probabilities into experience, then the quality of your consciousness matters. Let's explore what that means on a practical level. Imagine waking up each day filled with fear. Your thoughts spiral. What if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? What if the world is against me? These thoughts generate emotions: anxiety, contraction, heaviness. Your body tenses. Your heart rate increases. Your breathing becomes shallow. Now imagine a different set of thoughts. What if this challenge is an opportunity? What if I'm capable of more than I believe? What if something beautiful is about to unfold? These thoughts generate expansion, curiosity, hope. Your body opens. Your brain chemistry changes. You radiate a different signal into the world. These aren't just feelings, they are frequencies. Science has shown that every thought and emotion corresponds to a measurable electromagnetic signal in the body. The heart, for example, generates the most powerful magnetic field of any organ, and this field shifts depending on our emotional state. So when people say, raise your vibration, they may be expressing a literal truth. Your state of being, energetic, emotional, mental, emits a signal. And that signal interacts with the quantum field in ways we don't yet fully understand. The law of attraction posits that like attracts like, that the vibration you emit draws similar experiences into your field. Skeptics dismiss this as coincidence or confirmation bias. But even in neuroscience we see support for this idea. The reticular activating system, RAS, a network in the brainstem, acts as a filter for attention. When you focus on something consistently, say the color red or opportunities to grow your business, your RAS begins to highlight those things in your environment. You start to attract more of what you focus on, not because the external world changes, but because your perception shifts. This is not magic. It is psychology. And it is profoundly powerful. But the law of attraction goes beyond mere perception. It suggests that your thoughts don't just affect your experience, they affect reality itself. Here we return to the observer effect. If the universe is made of probabilities, and if attention collapses those probabilities into form, then the quality of your attention, the intention behind your observation, becomes the sculptor of reality. This brings us to a deeper truth. Conscious creation begins with conscious attention. But most people do not pay conscious attention. They are not observers, they are reactors. They wake up, scroll their phones, consume noise, absorb fear, and reinforce old patterns. Their attention is hijacked. Their vibration is scattered. The law of attraction does not reward mere wishing. It responds to clarity. It responds to coherence. It responds to the signal you broadcast moment by moment, not just in what you think but in what you feel, believe, expect, and embody. To shift your vibration is not to pretend but to return to awareness. It is not about forcing outcomes, but about aligning with the frequency of clarity, openness, and truth. Here is where the ancient science of Vedanta harmonizes with the modern inquiry into thought power. For thousands of years, sages have taught that consciousness is the substratum of all that exists. Not a byproduct of the brain, but the very fabric from which the universe is woven. In Vedantic philosophy, what quantum physicists call the field is known as Brahman, the infinite, indivisible reality that manifests as all forms but is itself formless. In this view, your thoughts are not mere mental chatter. They are movements within consciousness itself, vibrations within the one field. The Upanishads say, as one thinks, so one becomes. Not as a metaphor but as a law of reality. Vedanta teaches that the world we perceive is Maya, not illusion in the sense of fantasy but a veil of appearances. It is real in its function but not in its essence. Behind the forms of Maya is Atman, the self, the witness, the observer beyond the mind. And here we find an extraordinary parallel with the observer effect. The observer in Vedanta is not the ego. It is not the personality. It is that silent awareness which sees without judgment, without preference, without movement. It is the same in all beings. It is untouched by change. And it is the foundation of all experience. When you rest in that awareness, your thoughts are no longer random or reactive. They become conscious instruments. You no longer say, I think. You realize, thought arises in me. And from this place of witnessing, you can begin to choose thoughts that reflect your highest intention. This is the true essence of the law of attraction, not to manipulate reality with thoughts, but to return to the center where thought and reality are one. Modern neuroscience supports this as well. Studies in neuroplasticity show that the brain is not fixed. It rewires itself based on repeated thought and emotional patterns. When you think a thought consistently, neurons that fire together begin to wire together. This forms belief systems, emotional responses, and even physical habits. So if you think, I am not good enough, again and again it becomes a neurological groove. Your brain begins to expect that story. Your body memorizes the emotion of inadequacy. You attract, not because the universe punishes you but because your entire system now vibrates at that frequency. But the opposite is also true. With conscious repetition you can form new grooves. You can think, I am worthy, I am open, I am aligned, and over time your brain rewires. Your emotional body adjusts. Your actions shift. Your vibration changes. You are not faking positivity, you are reclaiming authorship. This is not easy. It requires practice, devotion, patience. But it is the path of the conscious creator. In Vedantic meditation this is known as jnana and nididhyasana, deep reflection and assimilation. The aspirant studies a truth, reflects on it until it becomes experiential, and dissolves old patterns in the fire of awareness. Thought becomes mantra. Mantra becomes silence. Silence becomes being. In this way, the ancient spiritual path and the law of attraction become one. You are not trying to manifest from the ego. You are dissolving the ego into awareness and allowing manifestation to arise from your highest frequency. This is the next evolution of the law of attraction, not as consumerist wish-making but as conscious co-creation, not as fantasy but as sacred science. But let us not ignore the shadow. Many who discover the law of attraction use it as a bypass. They try to suppress negative thoughts, avoid pain, or deny their humanity. But this only creates fragmentation. What you resist persists. Carl Jung warned us, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. If you affirm abundance but unconsciously believe in scarcity, your vibration is divided. If you speak of love but carry the frequency of unworthiness, you attract confusion. The quantum field responds to your wholeness, not your mask. Therefore, true alignment requires shadow work. The law of attraction is not opposed to the work of healing, it demands it. Because healing is how you return to coherence. Coherence is how you become magnetic. When your thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and actions are unified, when the observer, the thought, and the field are in harmony, manifestation becomes effortless. Reality begins to bend, not through control but through resonance. This is not superstition. It is subtle technology, the sacred science of being. And now we must ask, what kind of world might we create if more of us lived this way? If we taught our children not only facts but focus? If we designed our lives not around fear but frequency? If we understood that the mind is not a prison but a portal? The law of attraction would no longer be a personal tool for gain, it would become a collective force for transformation. It would move from vision boards to vision consciousness, from secret techniques to open awareness, from me to we. The journey from unconscious reaction to conscious creation is the highest form of evolution. It is not about wealth or success alone, those are merely reflections. The true gift of mastering thought power is freedom, freedom from the illusion that we are victims of circumstance. Freedom to participate in the creative dance of the universe with intention, beauty, and joy. When you become aware of your observer, you stop being a passenger in your own life. You stop begging reality to shift. You begin to listen, to tune, to vibrate, as a co-creator, not just a consumer. This is what Vedanta calls jnana, wisdom born not from books but from direct seeing. To know that the world arises in consciousness is not a poetic idea. It is a shift in identity. You are no longer a small self trying to control the world. You are the self through which the world arises. You don't use the law of attraction. You are the law. As the Bhagavad Gita says, the mind is the friend of the conditioned soul, and his enemy as well. When the mind is mastered, it becomes a vehicle of divine intention. When it is scattered, it creates suffering. The observer effect teaches us that the mind is not passive. It interferes. It alters. It collapses waves into form. This is not a burden, it is a sacred responsibility. What you believe you broadcast. What you feel you feed. What you expect you prepare for. And what you deeply embody you invite into form. In the quantum model, the field is infinite possibility. In the Vedantic model, Brahman is infinite potentiality. In both, the unmanifest becomes manifest through the gate of attention. So pause for a moment. Close your eyes. Breathe. What is the frequency of your field right now? Is it tight with doubt or loose with trust? Is it chattering with fear or vibrating in silence? The observer is still there, beneath all the noise, watching. And when you rest in that awareness, you find that the future is not ahead of you, it is inside you. It forms around your gaze. It listens to your rhythm. It follows your signal. This is not magic. It is conscious causation. It is spiritual physics. You are not here to manipulate reality with thought. You are here to meet reality as a vibration, and let the field respond to the frequency of your integrity. The law of attraction is not about asking the universe for things. It is about becoming the version of you to whom those things naturally flow. That version is already within you. It is not waiting. It is observing. In the stillness of quantum silence and the clarity of ancient truth, one insight remains. What you observe, you influence. What you influence, you become. And what you become, the world reflects. At Vedira, we walk the path where physics becomes philosophy, where vibration becomes vision. Not to escape the world, but to co-create it, wisely, intentionally, lovingly. Let your thoughts be sacred. Let your attention be precise. Let your life be a frequency of truth. Until next time, keep observing and keep awakening.